Welcome to the Tim James Show. I'm your host, Tim James. This is our first episode, and I'm pretty excited to bring you some really hard-hitting undercover footage, kind of exposing the hypocrisy of online gaming's biggest opponent, Sheldon Adelson. When I was putting together my topics for my show, I wasn't sure which one I was going to do first. But that question was pretty much answered for me when I got a letter from my senator in California, Dianne Feinstein. I had filled out an online survey stating my support for online poker, and I received back, maybe about a month and a half later, this response. She states here in the letter that she doesn't support my views of online gaming and that she fears that online gaming could be used for money laundering and minors could gamble and a bunch of other reasons that she cited. There's a lot of other ways that we can combat these things rather than just simply wholesale banning something that is A, wanted by the community, B, is a revenue generator, and C, is basically letting Americans be free. So I did some digging, and I found that basically all roads lead to Sheldon Adelson, the owner of the Sands Corporation, which operates the Venetian and the Palazzo here in Las Vegas. And what I uncovered was that he is the major driving force behind the prohibition effort of online gaming. I wondered why someone who is 15th richest man in the United States and gambling magnate would be against online poker. So I did some digging, and everything that I came up with showed that he was giving an argument that he was against it for moral reasons. So what I did was I took one of his interviews for this first episode, and I took it apart piece by piece so that I could argue the points that he was making with a more fact-based approach. We're going to show my arguments first, then we're going to show the actual result of what happens when those arguments are tested.
I'm in the business. I'm the largest company. I'm larger than all the other gaming companies combined in the United States. I have authority in the bona fides to recommend to the government that this is not the right way to encourage people to gamble.
Okay, so you're the largest gaming company in the United States, and you are the 15th richest man in the United States of America as well. And you say that gives you authority within the bona fides to recommend to the government what they should do with gaming policy. I disagree with this point for several reasons. One, saying that you're the largest company just means that you've made the most money. You've made the most money by having an inherent built-in edge over your customers, which I don't have a problem with because people have a choice what to do with their own money. But just because you've made all this money off of gaming, why do you need to prevent people from being able to play in their homes where it's convenient for them and makes them happy? You're right, gaming is a form of entertainment, and people would like to be entertained in their own homes without having to travel to your casino to play. Let's look at the next clip.
For instance, here in the land-based casinos, we're required to have the dealers shuffle the cards a certain way. How do you do that on the internet?
I'm sorry, I can't stop myself from laughing. How do we deal cards on the internet? Well, we use a random number generator. And by we, I mean you use them in your casinos and every slot machine and every video poker, which is based upon a 52-card deck. How do the video pokers, the hundreds of thousands of video poker machines that you have in your casinos, how do those offer a random deck? How do we know that those aren't cheating people? Well, I actually don't believe that you're cheating your customers. I believe that you're cheating the American people by giving them a dishonest argument or an uninformed argument that you're putting money behind. It's one of the two, in my opinion. So a random number generator is the answer to that question. And every single slot machine, video poker, heads-up poker, any sort of electronic game, and the pocket casino that you have, that the online gaming that you offer in your casinos, those all work off of random number generators, which I'm pretty certain that you're either aware of because you offer hundreds of thousands of them every single day, or you're misinformed, and I don't know, when I think about it, it makes me laugh, so I gotta go to the next clip.
Here, we're not supposed to allow underage people to gamble. How do you do that on the internet?
How do we keep underage gamblers off the internet? As I will show later in this episode, it is much harder for an underage gambler to fool an algorithm on a computer, and they usually need to have help of someone who's overage. Whereas in your casinos, I believe that people can be fooled a lot easier, and I believe that things that would work to fool a casino, a live person would not work on the internet. And I have proof of this, and we're going to discuss that later in the episode. Next clip.
There's no technology that a kid can get around.
But maybe the regulations have to catch up with the growth of the market.
No, there's nothing to regulate. I'm regulated in 4 different jurisdictions. I don't know of one regulation that would apply to internet gaming.
But not
I can't
right
help
now.
how people.
Maybe in the future.
Well, in the future, we'll look at it.
But look, okay, so the
Betty, there's no compelling
Sheldon,
reason. Let me say this, please. There is no reason, nor any compelling reason, to put a casino in everybody's pocket. Underage, of age, college students that owe plenty of money, unfortunate people, working class people, middle class people that will be easily exploited by and easily incentivized to go on the internet and gamble. For what?
There's no technology a kid can't get around. First of all, I would argue that is just not correct. There are technologies that can be created and that do exist that can completely prevent or mitigate to a very minute percentage underage gamers online. They can be used. You're saying that you're willing to spend whatever it takes to keep people from doing it, but you're not saying that you're willing to spend whatever it takes to make it safe. So that's one issue that I have with this. Another thing is you're saying that you're because you're licensed in 4 jurisdictions and you don't know any regulations that would apply to legalized online gaming. If it actually could exist here, it would be legalized, it would be regulated, it would be safe, it would be taxed, it would be a job creator, and all of those things. The overall stance of your argument and the basis by which you're making these claims infuriate me, which is why this is my first show. And which is why I'm coming out so hot. The thing that pisses me off the most is that that your personal net worth is somewhere north of $27 billion. So you're talking about how unfortunate people who are poor and shouldn't be able to gamble. So my first question is, who's too poor to gamble? Who is? Do you make that judgment? When I go into the Venetian or the Palazzo, do they ask me if I can afford to make the bets that I'm making? I can personally tell you that I've made probably 10,000 bets in your casinos, and I've never once been asked if I could afford the bet I was making. And when I lost and I was upset, no one came over and said, "Hey, you lost that bet. Are you okay? Would you like your money back? Or can I do something to help you?" No. There's some pamphlets by the cage which is required by law. That's what's there. You don't ask me if I can afford it. You don't do a credit check on me. You don't ask me to furnish proof of where my money came from or any of those things. You don't do any of that. So what you're doing is you're telling people that they're too poor to game at home, but they can come to your place and still game. That argument incenses me. I can't imagine how you can sit there with all of this money and say these people are too poor and they're going to be exploited. Where did you get your billions and billions of dollars from? Did you get them Bill Gates and Zuckerberg and the Rothschilds are the only people rolling around through the Venetian and the Palazzo? It's the most absurd argument I've ever heard, and it's offensive and elitist. And I understand that you are an elitist. You're the 15th richest man in the world. You cite that in every interview that I've seen you give. But what I wouldn't be doing was trying to change the laws to restrict freedoms from people doing stuff in their own homes so that I can actually protect my assets. Next clip.
But your detractors say, look, the people that we've seen so far go online gambling, right? They're not visiting regular physical casinos.
Because they're too poor to do that.
But just hang on. So or they don't live near one. They're not in Vegas.
Really, there's no location in the United States
but just hang on.
that's more than 200 miles from a casino.
But okay, so or as you say, maybe it is too expensive. It's too expensive for them to go into the physical casino. So why not offer them, though, if they want to do this, why not offer them an opportunity to be able to go online and be able to gamble?
No, because it's not.
Who's to say that's exploitation?
I'm saying, and I'm the biggest guy in the industry.
So I have a couple big issues with this. Number one, if someone comes into the casino, how do you know that they're too poor to game? You're saying that that if they come into your land-based casinos, they're not exploited there. How is that the case? How do you take a player and ask them if they're too poor? I've never been issued a credit application. I've never been interviewed and asked if I could afford to play. I would like to issue a challenge to you, Sheldon. I would like to say, if you want to prove to the American people that you care about the poor and disadvantaged, take $10 billion that you will never miss and set up education centers that teach people mathematics and economics and things of that nature, so that they can understand the inherent argument that you're trying to make, that they're being victimized by the game. So the average person knows, I think that they know, that when you go into a game and you put money into a slot machine, that you do not have an expectation of making a profit. That when you play any game that you offer, except for poker to an educated player or blackjack to an advantage player, which an advantage player at blackjack is no longer allowed to play in the casino. They're asked to leave. They're asked to not play in the casino. It's happened to me. There are several casinos in Las Vegas that do not allow me to play blackjack in them anymore because they feel that my education on the game is enough to give me an edge to where I have an expectation of win. Your casino bans players from playing blackjack because they have a chance at winning. So you're saying that you're worried about exploiting people, yet you run a gaming company that's made billions and billions and billions of dollars off people, and I have no problem with that. I am okay with you running a gaming company that makes a lot of money. And your properties are beautiful properties. They are the Venetian and the Palazzo are beautiful properties. The employees are nice people. It's well run. I like that place. But I have a massive, massive problem with the fact that you say that online gaming exploits those who are too poor to afford it. Whereas your land-based casino doesn't do that. How is it that the land-based casino doesn't also exploit that same poor person? The difference that I would argue is that online gaming has algorithms that can program it to stop problem gaming. I can go and I can lose $1 million at the Win tonight, and then I can walk next door to your casino, and no one's going to say, oh, hey, buddy, you lost $1 million at the Win yesterday. Maybe you shouldn't play here today. That's not true. You're not going to say that. I've lost massive amounts of money in the casinos, yours especially, and no one's ever asked me if I could afford it, and no one's ever asked me if I was gaming responsibly. And I've been so drunk that I woke up in the morning and didn't remember what happened, and I lost money in your casinos, and no one stopped me from gaming. That I've been with people that threw up while we were gaming, and they sent somebody over to clean it up, asked her if she was okay, and let us keep gaming. So it's extremely disingenuous of you to say this. So I will once again have a call to action. If your belief is that you're doing this from what's in your heart and to protect people, why don't you take $10 billion and set up an education, job creating foundation that actually spends that $10 billion on helping those people get out of poverty and rise up, and maybe that they can repay the favor to other people. Again, this one is very, very, very frustrating for me, so I'm just going to go to the next clip.
But isn't that getting into becoming a nanny state?
No. Not at all. Not at all. Well, just tell me, what's the compelling reason to do so?
Well, I think I just explained one,
No,
right?
you didn't.
If you can't afford to come to a beautiful property like yours in Las Vegas, but you still want to be able to gamble, isn't there an option? I mean, everything else is going online. Shouldn't there be an option to do that as well online?
No, because it's too widespread. It exploits too many people that can't afford it. That shouldn't be doing it. Look, my father went to, as I said, went to the horse races in the daytime, the dog races in the nighttime. Why should poor people who cannot afford to lose that kind of money be tempted with that kind of activity? Gaming is a form of entertainment. I'm saying, coming from the business, I want to make money from those who can afford it. I can't tell over the internet who is underage. I can't tell who's got financial difficulties. I can't tell who is not gaming responsibly. I can't tell if money is being laundering. I can in the casino.
How much are you willing to spend to stop online gambling?
Whatever it takes.
What does that mean?
Whatever it takes. If it takes $100, I'll put out $100.
How much have you spent so far?
I'm not saying that.
But aren't you just protecting your own land-based properties?
No. I don't. That level of the market is not what my properties are about. You think I'm bringing in unfortunate people who can be exploited into suites like this that we're sitting in?
telling people that they can't play a computer game with their own money in their own homes, legally and regulated and taxed, is not getting into being a nanny state. I vociferously disagree with that argument. This is America, and in other clips that I've seen of you, you have said that you're not worried that your influence in Israel specifically, the financial influence that you wield there and the money that you donate in that particular country, you've been quoted and recorded as saying that you're not worried about protecting Israel as a democracy. It says nothing in the Bible about Israel ever being a democracy, so don't worry about it. Well, this is a democracy. This is the United States of America. This is a democracy, and it's a democracy where, like, our axiom is that we're the land of the free and the home of the brave. And as an American, you are getting into a nanny state situation when you tell me that I can't play a game on my computer with my own money. And that the United States government shouldn't be able to tax it, regulate it, make it safe for everyone to play, and tax it. That is absolutely the opposite of the ideals of the land of the free. It's the land of the restricted. You're giving me a restriction and telling me that I can't do it. That is something that I take massive objection to. You also say that you can't tell who's underage, who's gaming irresponsibly, and who is laundering money. Well, as you can see, I have taken objection to several of these things. So I listened to these arguments and I decided to find out for myself if your arguments held any water other than my informed opinion. So I went into your casino and I filmed some underage gamblers, and this is what happened. Take a look. We took an underage gambler with a $50 fake ID into the Venetian and the Palazzo. Every time she was ID'd, the ID passed. It was handed to floormen, it was handed to dealers, it was handed to cocktail waitresses. It passed. She was able to play every game she attempted. There was 12 total times she sat down and played. She played slot machines. She played video poker. She sat down at the bar. She was offered a drink. So does his land-based casino offer additional protection that online poker does not? We've proven here that it does not. The fake ID and no ID at all works in the physical casino, but it does not work online. So the argument that he's made here is patently false, and we've proven it to be incorrect. Well, I'm excited that today's guest is none other than 3-time WSOP bracelet winner and high-stakes cash beast, Brian Hastings. Brian is a just absolute beast on the felt and on the cyber felt as well. Hopefully we'll get him to talk about some of the things that he's done and a little bit about online gaming. Welcome.
Hi, Tim. Good to be here.
Thanks for coming on the show. We had spoken before, and I know that you saw the sizzle piece that I put up on the Adelson situation, and wanted to see what your thoughts were on that.
Well, I mean, I, as I'm sure you're aware, I posted it on my blog as well. I've tweeted about the blog entry.
BrianHastings.com, by the way.
Yeah, BrianCHastings.com. So I just started my website and blog recently. I've made like 4 blog entries, I think. And this is the first one out of any of them that I've tweeted about more than once, because, I mean, Sheldon, in the poker world, Sheldon has had about as big of an impact on my life and my friends' lives as anybody you could possibly have. So it's something I'm very passionate about.
How's that? Like, how did Sheldon have such a big impact on your life?
Well, I mean, basically, the UIGEA got passed. What year was UIGEA? I mean, a long time ago.
I'm actually not certain. I think it was like 2005.
It was a long time ago, but yeah, I mean, Black Friday happened in 2011, April of 2011, and after that, like many other players, I mean, I woke up one morning and logged on to my Full Tilt account and realized I couldn't log in. I also never got my money from Full Tilt either. I mean, granted, I had a smaller percentage of my bankroll than most on the site, but throughout the whole remissions process, they never answered my emails, which was frustrating. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, since Black Friday, myself and other Americans haven't been able to effectively play online poker. I mean, granted, there are options like the Bovadas of the world or whatever other options you can find, but effectively, there's an internet poker prohibition in America, and Sheldon Adelson is the #1 reason for that.
Yeah, but my research has definitely shown that he is the number one opponent of online gaming.
Yes.
He's cited obviously a lot of his reasons as moral, and if you've seen the clips that I've put on, he states that it basically that kids can come in and gamble, or underage gamblers can come in and gamble, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that if you tried to sign up with a fake ID to any of the companies, they wouldn't accept your payment because they know it's going to be a chargeback. So, and they have algorithms that prevent that from happening. Whereas if I can, a $50 fake ID can be handed to an employee, and it works. Also, if you happen to look older than you are, that works in a live casino, but that doesn't work online.
Right. Obviously, I think anybody who has tried, whatever, whether tried or watched your video or just is willing to think about the situation critically, I think it's clearly obvious that it's much easier to gamble underage or to drink underage or to do a lot of illegal things underage within a casino rather than online. Online is, given proper regulation, there are protections in place. And like in your video, if you try to go onto WSOP.com and make an account with a fake ID, you're just not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, that's correct.
And that's just not the case in a land-based casino.
Yeah. Also, some of the other big sites, PokerStars, Party Poker, 888, they operate over great swaths of the world, just not here in the United States. And people, they buy in, they cash out, they're paid, everything's legitimate. So. Let me ask you a question. I know that you're a Cornell graduate.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What did you take out student loans, or were you a scholarship student, or how did you how'd you pay for Cornell?
So I paid for my first semester of Cornell via student loans, actually. So at the time, whatever, I had played online at a young age and done pretty well. By the second semester, though, I was paying taxes on my online poker winnings, and I was closing out all my student loans, and I was paying out of pocket.
Oh, that's nice. So do you still have any student loans?
No. I paid them all off pretty much right away. But I was one of the lucky ones. Like I was, back then I was able to make my living playing online poker, and
Sure.
I was able to pay my way through Cornell from my online poker winnings.
One of Sheldon's arguments is that college students and people with disadvantaged backgrounds, or working class people, or less than working class people, to quote him, those people are going to be most exploited by online poker. What are your thoughts on that?
Obviously there are risk factors. Gambling addiction is a real thing, and certainly people can be wired to make irrational decisions. However, Sheldon's arguments are hypocritical, because all that stuff can happen in casinos also. And as you showed in your video, arguably it can happen easier in casinos. I think given proper regulation, online gaming can be a very, not entirely safe. Obviously there's always some risk with adults, in taking on any kind of financial transaction, whether it's a loan or whether it's investing in a stock or anything. But
Sure.
there are always risks involved, but there are also protections. And for any kind of regulated online gaming that would be to set up in the U.S., there would be like a self-exclusion option. There would be like support that gambling addicts can talk to. There would be like deposit limits, just all these protections that I think would help that problem a lot. And honestly, these are protections that go above and beyond what any land-based casino is doing, really.
That I was going to ask you that. Other than the 800 numbers that the Nevada Gaming Commission, or I'm sure all the other jurisdictions have them as well. Other than that, there's no algorithm that says, hey, this guy is rebuy. There's no limits on how the bank puts limits on how much you can use from the ATM, but the ATMs inside the casinos
Right.
will let you take as much as the banks will let you.
Yeah,
pull out.
if you go to the cage of the casino, there are pamphlets that talk about responsible gaming and all that. They're following the laws and they're offering that stuff, but it's not really right in front of your face, and it's very easy. I was just in Vegas at the Win, and not to I'm just picking a casino. I'm not picking on the
Sure.
Win, but you can go sit down. You can go buy into the table. Whatever. I'm 27. I had a player's card, but I didn't have to have an ID or a player's card. I could have just showed up and played.
Sure.
And I can put whatever money I want on the table. And if I bust and I want to rebuy, the casino will try to get me a cash advance or do all kinds of stuff. So,
Sure, they'll do a lot of things
I mean,
to facilitate you being able to get the money without ever
Right.
asking you if it's your last money. Thanks again for calling into the show, and we're definitely going to have you on again if you're willing to come back. And thanks again.
All right, thanks for having me, Tim. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye. That'll do it for the first episode of the Tim James Show. I'd like to thank Brian Hastings for coming on and giving me a great interview, sharing his opinions and his story. The next episode of the Tim James Show, we're going to go even deeper into the footage that I showed you earlier. I look forward to you guys viewing the next episode, and until then, good luck unless you're sitting across from me.